special guest this evening. I am so excited. Because of COVID, I've never physically met her. But, we repurpose. That's what creative people do. You can sense people's energy over the phone or over the internet or over Zoom. And this is a professional dancer. Her name is Caitlin Knowles. Caitlin also volunteers as a New Jersey mental health player. And this is a picture that is so powerful. Again, how art moves you. I wanted you to see it three ways because she's on a road. She's in a lane, okay? She's in the lane, in the middle. Look around. What does this inspire in you? When I saw it, it's like, okay, she's on a straight path, but her body is going in every direction. You see the road signs in back of her. You see a stop sign in back of her. You don't even see, you see where it is, where it's going, but all you see is forest. What is that? What does this invoke in you? What is she looking at? How is she balancing? And when we talk about balance and the emotional, the 8 dimensions of wellness, it really is about balance. And here's the physical depiction of balance. Where are you going? Did you stop there? Should you stop there? What direction is her body going in? Even though it's on the line, think about it. So we're going to meet her. And she's gonna talk to us, and I'm so excited because she's just now. She don't look like that because you'll see. My special guest, dancer, singer, actor, advocate, Caitlin Knowles. Caitlin is a performer and educator based in the New York City, New Jersey area. They graduated from Montclair State University with a BFA in dance and theater, and continue their training at Gibney and Paradance in New York City. And through programs like the Royal Winnipeg Ballet Summer Theater Training, Access Summer Intensive, and Bergen Dance Makers, Caitlin has had the opportunity to perform works with Jose Lyman, Bill T. Jones, Nancy Lushington, Doug Verone, Mark Dance Project, Megan Daly, David Ingram, May Yamakaka, and Stephanie Beauchamp, among others. Caitlin is happy to volunteer for the mental health players and collaborates with dance companies to create accessible and socially conscious spaces. They are currently a company member with Nikki Manx Dance Project, Mardell Dance, and Lioness Dance New York City, while creating and presenting their own work for various virtual festivals. Without further ado, I would like all of us those of us who are online, on the Zoom call, to unmute your lines. And Caitlin, I'd like to invite you, I'm going to stop sharing, to invite all of you to unmute your lines and give our special guest, Caitlin, a round of applause. Woo! Don't be shy. We need that. Some of us need that. Unmute your lines. You just scream, say, ah!
Thank you, Lynette.
Shy? Come on, give me Oh, okay. We got a shy bunch. All right, Kayla, I'm going to put you in the spotlight. Hi, Andy.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us. So my first question that I ask all of my guests is, so how you doing?
I'm doing okay. That's a loaded question. But before I get into all of that, this is Caitlin speaking. I am a small, fair-skinned person with freckles, wearing a flannel shirt, and in front of a black and white tapestry with twinkling lights draped behind me. I am residing on Lenni Lenape land, and also known as Marlton, New Jersey. And I'm so honored to be here with you all today. How am I doing? I feel like that's always such a loaded question, especially with COVID happening. There's a lot to consider. Right now, I'm living with my family. I moved back home to help them with online schooling. So I have two young brothers, 10 and 12, who are on the autism spectrum and diagnosed with ADHD. And so I've been helping them with their online schooling, which has been really chaotic. But during COVID, I have taken a lot of time to really work on my mental health. So I think being with family has definitely helped with that. And I've been very, very lucky in a lot of ways. There is so much grief, like you were saying earlier in the presentation. A lot of changes have been happening, and I've been very lucky to be able to focus on my mental health. And so, yeah, right now, as a dancer and an artist, the dance field has completely shifted in really beautiful ways. But as a field, there has been a big push, and I guess all over the world, there's been a big push for accessibility. So now that we have all been dealing with a pandemic on our hands, there's been a lot of creativity and a lot of push to figure out, okay, how can we shift things to be virtual? And I'd just like to point out how a lot of disabled people have been pushing for this kind of access for a very, very long time. And I think it's wonderful that we are having dance classes and webinars and all of these things that are online and accessible to a lot more people who regularly, their whole life or for a significant portion of their life, have not been able to go to events, whether it be because of immunity issues or because our public spaces don't prioritize accessibility, that you can't bring a wheelchair up 6 flights or up 2 flights of steps that don't have an elevator. And so I think it's really interesting, the shift in the dance world that's been having a lot more consciousness for people who also aren't necessarily comfortable showing up in a dance classroom. So currently I am regularly taking dance classes in my home. So I move the furniture in my dining room. And thankfully, I am able to adjust things so that I can dance, and I have a wood floor. And so I regularly take dance classes and choreograph and have rehearsals all in that space. It's been a lot. Yeah.
No, and I would you just made me think of something, because I never thought, I never thought about, I thought about access from certain perspectives, but I never thought about, with all this, that it's increased the access. I mean, as on some level, yes, but as far as COVID has exposed us to different ways of how we move.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, I mean, in your world as a dancer, you see that, but how it has improved possibly the access of people who have limited movement,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or limited access to move anywhere. That I never thought of it that way. So thank you for enlightening me with that, and enlightening our audience if they haven't thought about it that way, because I never thought, I guess when I think of dance or I think of creativity, I don't know. I think it may be so selfish. Like, but thank you for, I guess, sharing your vision on how this pandemic has created some different paths, because we've had to be creative to share it and to expose it and to teach and to share it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I think I have danced with physically integrated companies. So Marked Dance Project specifically is a company that is inclusive, and I worked with dancers in a wheelchair or with cerebral the choreographer had cerebral palsy. And so I think a lot of times we don't think about things that don't affect us, that we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the horrible things about accessibility is that if places are not accessible, you are not going to see those people. So if I'm at a restaurant that has stairs leading up to it and no elevator, I'm not going to see people in wheelchairs at that restaurant because it's not accessible to them. And I think that's the case for a lot of things that, like, as a general, the public doesn't think of people who are disabled because the structure that our government and society has created hasn't been made accessible so that they have equal access. But I've been thinking about a lot of that, and even for mental health, with taking dance classes, emotions and movement are so inseparable, and they're in a dance class, a lot of dance classes, there can be a lot of meditative movement, which is beautiful and can create a really deep personal relationship with yourself and to other dancers. But I found when my mental health has been suffering the most, that kind of movement was not accessible to me, especially in public, because as a professional dancer, there's also like standards and expectations and professionalism that it is mandatory for you to like work around our society. And so I found that especially early on in during the pandemic, and I was taking online classes, I had the option to take classes without the camera on, which allowed me during the very like more meditative moments where it was triggering for me, that I could sit there and I could cry. And I didn't have to be concerned about who was looking at me and who was judging me for my mental health issues, which was really important to me, and to be able to meet myself where I am. And I think this entire pandemic, I've been really focusing on how to meet myself where I am, because there's always somebody who's ready to tell you what to do about your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
And you know what? I want to. I'm just looking at the. Just want to make sure is that when we talked before, and I was, and you sent me something very beautiful, and art art evokes a level of sensitivity. When artists share their art with you, it could be very scary because you're forced to be very vulnerable, and you care what people think, and like you're just so like, okay, what do you think, because you've put everything into it, or maybe you didn't. It's just kind of like, it's like, let me just see where this lands. But Caitlin shared something with me, which is why I thought that she would be perfect for this platform to encourage, inspire, and support creativity and mental health. Is she uses her wellness tools to heal, but also inspire and encourage others. Now, I know I'm giving her a lead in, but I want you to kind of take me, because I want to show the audience what you shared with me. And I want to come back and talk about it, because I would like to invite them into the discussion. But I think what I want to show them says so much about a piece of you, but I want you to give the lead in, if you know what I mean.
Of course.
Okay.
So, it's interesting. Creativity for dancers, there's a lot of expectations that go along with creativity. And I think sometimes it can work against the healing nature of creativity. I think that for a long time, my mental health was really bad, and it's still hard, but it was incredibly difficult for me to create work because of what Lynette was saying, of like how vulnerable it is, and the high expectations, and you're putting on the table your professionalism, your work, your creation, and it's very deeply personal. And I think it's really great to find like safety in yourself before creating. But what I shared with Lynette was creation out of necessity. So I dealt with a fairly traumatic, a couple of traumatic events for myself, and my anxiety, which I've dealt with my entire life, became really severe. I started having panic attacks like daily. I suffered from suicidal ideation for years, which is funny. I didn't think about it. It was never it was never an option for me. I knew that I would never follow through on it. But for years, I spent almost every day having those kinds of thoughts of not wanting to exist anymore. And I was crying every day and having panic attacks regularly, and I was trying everything that people tell you to do. Like, oh, well, you have to exercise every day. You have to make sure that you're meditating and you're journaling, and you are staying connected, and that you're still doing everything that you're supposed to be doing professionally, and that you have to put yourself out there, and you can't sleep too long. And so all of these things, I was doing all of these things, listening to everybody else, and it was not working. And I got to a point where I kind of broke, and I knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. And so I checked myself into a hospital, and I received care, which I am very, very privileged to have been able to check myself into a hospital, because that is not accessible to a lot of people. And I was medicated, but the medication that they put me on or one of the medications that they put me on was not a good fit. And there was some irresponsible care as I left the hospital, and I wasn't able to see a psychiatrist for too long afterwards. And I had horrendous side effects from the medication. I had tremors, I was having memory loss, I had insomnia, I was getting heart palpitations, my heart was racing, I had vertigo, was really dizzy, would be out of breath just like standing up, going for a walk. And I'm a dancer. So that's really, really disorienting to not be able to move. It was really sickening. And so I started working on creating movement to help me process what I was going through. So I took the physical sensations that I was dealing with and I translated it to movement. And that's how I created this piece. And Lynette, if you wanted to share.
Thank you, Caitlin. This is entitled, I'm Listening. Okay. And I'm going to put my guest in the spotlight. And Caitlin, on behalf of the Mental Health Association in New Jersey, I want to thank you for your art. I want to thank you for sharing it with us. I respect your vulnerability. I know that you have inspired and encouraged all of us, not just the people here on Zoom, but this will be live on the Mental Health Association page forever. And I will send you a link right after. So as I do with all my guests, before I give her the final word, well, actually, I'm going to give her the final word. Then I want all of us to unmute your lines and give her a round of applause. So we're going to go out to that applause. Okay. So Caitlin, you have the final word.
Thank you so much, Lynette. You are so incredible, and all the work that you do is so impactful. And I feel very, very blessed to be able to do this and to speak and to know you. I really, really appreciate you. And I have a quote to close on by a famous choreographer, Bill T. Jones. And I'm reading it though. The quote is, "The body is a reservoir of all sorts of tensions and dark forces, and it's also the potential source of amazing energy. This thing wants to live. The body is a reservoir of all sorts of tensions and dark forces, and it's also the potential source of amazing energy. This thing wants to live."